black girls in my area cold. Dark skin, light skin, medium tones.
Like a lot of you guys, like you write or you create content and stuff like that. So I wanted to know, like, I guess, what is the source of that? Is it like your way of dealing? Like, what is your why behind it? And if you did like create things in related to this year, or if you commented on stuff like that, like, was it for you? Was it for others? Like, how do you, I guess, balance that?
Like I like creating, YouTube videos and connecting with people and helping them, do their best academically. But I had to do my best first. And I realized that there were times when I couldn't juggle all of the things that I could normally do. But I had to realize that I was in a pandemic, and there are certain times when I was like, okay, I have a lot to do, and I feel like I couldn't balance. And my priority is always going to be my school. I have a scholarship, I can't afford to lose it, so I have to work hard in that area. But I think this time has also allowed me to really focus. And as Latoya said, like, she had a word that she put with this year, and mine was focus. And I think I really got closer to what I want my brand to represent. And then I was able to even execute more, probably not in the way that I really want to, with more like YouTube videos and stuff, but on Instagram and creating content that didn't take as much time as a normal YouTube video would, but still engaging and just growing my brand with that. And then one thing that I was really proud of was being able to be on this panel that kind of helped Jamaican students transition into online learning and how they could create a student success routine, one that was like COVID proof. And I was invited to give that talk, and it was kind of good having people recognize what my brand is and what like I really want to do and like to help others, because your brand has to be separate and aside from yourself. Like, it has to be about other people, and having other persons recognize that and see where my passion is, and then have me speak to other persons and connect to them. So that was like, I was really proud of that. And just finding other ways to create and do things that I genuinely enjoy, because you can't just do it for the numbers or for the money, but doing things that align with you, like that really speaks volumes, and it really is important to me. And then like I got other like deals of people like saying, okay, they want me to promote this, but I can't just say yes to every and anything that people want me to promote. It has to tie into what my goals are, what my values are. And then those deals did come along, and it's like when you stick to who you are and what you believe in, and you'll attract those type of partnerships and connections. So as it relates to creating during this time, I took it easy, and I really honed in on my brand and what I wanted to represent. So that was good to have that time for myself.
I feel like, I don't know, for me, it's interesting because like I never really considered, I have this issue with like branding myself as X. Like, I've never considered myself like a activist or like a content creator or anything like that, as much as like I feel like this is something I want for myself. I've always been hesitant like to like assume these labels. Maybe it's like a imposter syndrome or something along those lines, because I feel like I've never fully embodied that. But then I also like, it's always weird for me to see, and I feel like this is not just like a isolated thing. Like, I feel like this is something a lot of people can relate to, but it's always weird for me to see like the impact that I have on others. Just like when you do something and like to you it's just like, yeah, I just did this because I just felt like doing it, and then everybody's like, oh my god, I felt the same way, and I'm just like, oh. And I feel like that's kind of like what my Instagram turned into for me a lot. Like, going back to like the social media conversation we were having before, I feel like for me it's super important to not just post the highlights. I feel like that's something that I've been trying to grapple with. Like, you don't want to overshare, like, whatever that means to you. But then I also like, I feel like authenticity is something that's super important, in the sense that like, I don't want to get on here and be like, listen, y'all, I'm real, period. Because I feel like there's people who do that. They're like, oh, yeah, authenticity is so important to me. Let me make a whole post about it. Like that's not me at all. But like there are definitely times where I'll be going through things and like I'll just write it out. And then I'm like, you know what, let me post this because I feel like maybe somebody can connect with it or say something that will make me feel differently about this, you know, or at least reaffirm for me that like I'm not alone in this. And like I know like there are a lot of times like where I'll post like that where I'll just put a picture and then the next like 9 slides are just like a rant. And like that's something that I just like started doing a lot more. And like I remember there was a point over the summer, like throughout quarantine, where I just went on a whole rant. I was like, listen, Black men, y'all are failing. Like you get an F- in life type shit. And here's what I have to say about it. And I just remember that kind of came out as like just being frustrated for like an extended period of time. And like at first I wasn't even gonna post it. I just needed to say it. But then and I literally posted it at like 1 a.m. Like, and for me, I'm like, I be on it with my insights. Like, I don't be posting at 1 a.m. on a Monday night because I know nobody's gonna see that shit. So that's how you know, like, that's how you know I was not doing that for the traction, if that makes sense. And like when I posted that, I feel like the thing that was most like that hit me the most was like, yeah, there were a lot of likes. Like it kind of went further than I thought it would. Like it was like thousands of people seeing it, and I was just like, oh, I did not. Maybe I should have proofread this, like, you know. But like I think the thing that hit me the most was the comments, because it was a lot of pain in there. Like it was a lot of girls commenting like, thank you for saying this. Like this is my experience, you know, or like I literally cried reading this, or I sent this to all my friends. Like we talked about this in the group chat for hours, or like, oh my God, I was just talking to my mom about this. Like, thank you for putting all my feelings into words. And like, it's just stuff like that where I was like, you know, I guess not everything has to be that deep, I guess was my takeaway. Like that was something where I just like went on a rant, wrote it all out and then posted it. Whereas like usually if I was like, okay, I'm going to post this, then I'm going to spend time, I'm going to proofread, I'm going to go on thesaurus.com to find a more intellectual word for this, you know, and that's just not what I did at that point. So I feel like, I don't know, to your question about like, you know, the kind of content we were creating and what kind of impact that was having, for me, it didn't feel like I was creating content as much as it was just like, I'm just sharing how I feel right now. But then I realized that I realized the impact that it was having. So I think that was just like I think that was important for me to see too. Like, I feel like a lot of times when it comes down to self-doubt or whatever, like a lot of times it just comes down to you doing something and then just recognizing how it affects others and taking that. Like I'm the type of person where it's like hard for me to take compliments sometimes. Like someone be like, oh, your hair looks cute. I'm like, all right, but you should see these box braids in the back. You know, like that's just like who I generally am. So I feel like that was super important for me to realize, you know, like, dang, like, you know, the things I say can really impact people. The things that I do really do have influence. And maybe I should actually embrace that instead of like shying away from it or saying like, okay, well, this could have been better though. You know, like it was okay, but it could have been better. So I just think that was something that was important for me and like, I guess important for others too.
So in this time, like what was your self-care practices? Like what was new and what did you have to just, you know, dig out from somewhere and find and just, you know, just had to, I don't know, like how did you guys cope with this really and truly? Like it's been hard.
So I want to answer your previous question about like the type of content. That's something I kind of struggled with because I'm so like when people say like, oh, content and like your brand, it's like, oh, you have to be one thing. So, you know, feminist, coach, like everyone's a coach, like, you know, all of these things, and it's like always this one thing. And I kind of struggled with that because like I'm not I'm not like one thing. And I realize, I don't know if it's a blessing or a curse, but like I get so passionate. Like when I am passionate about something and when I do something, I do that shit. And like I do it. You know, so it's kind of like, okay, you know, like do I, like what parts of myself do I show? And like I think the type of content that I ended up creating during quarantine was like what I needed. And like, I kind of decided to just be my whole self. So if this day I want to post something about, say, anything, then I'll just post it because, you know, that's a part of who I am. Will that hurt my brand? Maybe, you know, and I don't want it to kind of like be like tied down or like have to think about it that way. That's like a conscious decision I made during quarantine. And then to your second question about like self-care, at the beginning of quarantine, honestly, I felt just like so low because I wasn't in school. Like I didn't have anything to do because like outside was closed. I didn't have anything to do. So I was just like there. I wasn't exercising the way I wanted to. My diet wasn't the best. And then like I literally just started writing and journaling. And that was something that really saved me. And like once that spilled out, then it kind of just like went to different areas of my life. So I started working out. I started doing those Chloe Ting challenges, getting my, you know, stomach right. And just really just taking it like one area of my life at a time. So yeah, journaling is something that I used to cope, and I feel like that once I got it out, then it just spilled like into different like areas of my life.
So my outlet is the same as basically what Chelsea just said. Like I get a lot of like fulfillment from writing, and I feel like that like is what like really centers and grounds me. So one thing that I feel like struggled with my whole life is like I know I'm a talented writer, but like I get very self-conscious about my writing. So I don't like people reading it. I write it for myself, put it in a drive, like it's gone basically. But that's very hard because a lot of like my activism is through writing. And that's like when we're thinking about like labeling ourselves, like I think of myself a lot as like a feminist writer. That's like a lot of like where I see myself and like a lot of the work that I'm doing. And like when people like want to speak to me, it's usually about that. And that's how you found me for this panel basically. But I think that like it's very hard when your like passion and like what like you care about is like also work. And I feel like that has always been something I've been trying to balance. So like, okay, like, yes, I love writing. I love sitting in my room. I like journaling. I love writing poetry, but then like, okay, let's flip switch. Like you got to write your thesis now. Like that's kind of hard, you know? But I would say like how I've used that for self-care and how I've used that to do content during the pandemic. I got a bi-weekly opinion column in Cornell's newspaper this semester. And I've always kind of wanted to do this, but I was like, you know what, like, I'm just going to do it. This is going to force me to kind of share like the work that I'm doing. And so I think a lot of my writing had to do with like stuff that was going on. So like it had to do with like BLM, with politics in our election. I was writing about feminism, like some stuff about my background, but I think that was content that I was creating because it was forcing me to like kind of put that out there. But for the most part, I was really like writing from my experiences and like what I love and what I'm passionate about. And that was like such a great outlet. It was like, oh, and I love the fact that like it was work. So I had to do it, but it was fun work. So it was like, okay, like you got to spend like this whole day writing this article because it's going to get published and you have a deadline, but like take some time off from like everything else that you're doing because like you care about it.
Turning your passions into work, or when they're kind of the same. And I think that's what this year, like in terms of what I was creating, I feel like every time I decided I liked something, I tried to turn it into something. So for example, in quarantine, like me and my friend, we used to do these like IG lives and we just talk about relationships and dating and sex and all of that. And then we were like, okay, let's start a podcast. And then we start the podcast and then, you know, school starts back and I'm like, oh shit, like I can't manage this. So drop. Then even like when I got my piano, like at first I was going to make a whole Instagram page and I was like, I'll just post all my piano progressions there. And I'm like, you know, like, why am I stressing myself to like have to like learn this piece just to show people? So I was like, you know what, drop. So I think for me, like a theme in what I realize is I'm constantly creating for people. I run this social media page and we like host discussions on like social issues, political issues, all that stuff. And I feel like, you know, I'm constantly giving for people there. Like I'm constantly curating conversations for other people to have, for me to record, for me to have to sit and edit, then for me to post. And I think it just gets very exhausting when you're constantly like doing stuff for others. And so in summer, I created a YouTube channel for myself. And the goal of that now, I think a lot of people when they start YouTube, you know, they always say like, oh, like it's for me, and you know, like it's for like personal love and like just posting what I want. But for me, it was really about the money. Like you can make bank on YouTube, and the goal is that by next year, I'm hoping I can start making money from it, right? Like not bank, but start making. So I think initially when I was posting what I thought could get me views, because my field, like, one, there are not a lot of Black actuaries. Worse, there are not a lot of Black female actuaries. And then third, there are not any of them on YouTube. So I was like, all right, perfect market. Like, I know I'm going to get in that. And then after a while, I realized I don't want to post shit about like actuarial stuff. Like, I just want to post what I want. So I kind of flipped it in the sense of like just posting things that, like, even like just posting what I'm doing today. Like half the video I recorded this morning, half of it was me watching Girlfriends on Netflix, and just, you know, it's like just doing what I want. And even with my Instagram, that's something I consciously did, because again, I created a blog for like all my writings and stuff. And I wondered one day, like, why is it that on that page I'm so comfortable, and only like 200 people follow that page, right? And it was an old profile, so only like 40 people actively interact with that page. And I was comfortable talking about like shit I was going through all the time, like goals I was setting for myself. And I'm thinking to myself, like, why am I so comfortable talking about personal things on a page that I know no one's watching, but on my personal Instagram, which is supposed to be mine, I'm like hiding all the things about me. So I deleted that account off my phone, and I was like, you know what, like, I think the thing is, like, you know, once you start switching up what you post, because I'm moving from living in Jamaica where half my pics were me in like half naked in a swimsuit, where obviously I was getting likes on that, because so you're switching from that to switching to like just talking about how life is. And, you know, you lose that engagement because people, not everyone cares. But you know what, like after a while, like the right people are going to care. I had a girl message me and say, wow, like you're so authentic. Like it makes me want to just post random shit on my thing too. And I'm like, as it should be. Like, you know, it again, it goes back to what you said at the start, Annalise, like, who are you posting these things for? It's like now, like, I don't even post like nice pictures. Half my pictures are with Instagram filters, and it's literally just me looking like this, like, hey, you know, like I just post what I want now. And that's been the best thing I've done this year. And I really feel like I wouldn't have like gotten to this point if I wasn't going through all this shit that happened this year. So yeah. And then for self-care, honestly, I'm working on that. I have nothing to add, because I feel like this year it's like I prioritize work and projects more than myself, and I only start caring about myself when I get really burnt out. So I'm working on that, but open to tips.
I definitely feel like, to your point, like, I don't know, changing up how you usually operate, and like knowing your audience to a certain extent. Like, I know if I post in this bathing suit, I know what the reaction will be, versus if I post this because this is just how I've been feeling, you know, how are people going to react to it? And I feel like that's something where like it is almost like a sense of discipline, where it's like that's the point where you check yourself of like, who am I doing this for? What am I doing this for? But then at the same time, it's also embracing the existence of social media, like, you know, what it is. It's not your personal journal, it's not your personal wall. So like I feel like to a certain extent you can't even be mad at yourself for thinking about what the reception will be, because it's mostly like you're posting it as if it's like going out on a stage. You are in front of an audience. You knew what you was doing when you went out on this stage. It's not an empty auditorium, you know what I mean? So I feel like that's also something where it's like, I feel like we shouldn't beat ourselves up about, you know, in terms of like, that is the nature of it. It's almost like it is a performance, you know, and you can do a performance that's super raw. It's like, if you go up and you do a spoken word piece and it's about your whole life and all your trauma, like shit, you know, it's still a performance, but you're enacting your true feelings, you know? So I feel like to a certain extent, just like letting ourselves be and like redefining what I guess performance means to us. Because I feel like performance has a negative connotation. It feels like there's a level of fakeness to it. But like low-key, I feel like if you're trying to go into media and entertainment and if you're branding yourself, all of it is low-key a performance. Like we low-key perform every day. You know, you go into class, you perform as student. You go around your friends, you perform as homegirl. You know, like you go home, you perform as daughter. It's like, I don't know, it's just, I guess, redefining for ourselves sometimes. And like going back to, I feel like what a lot of us said before, kind of going into 2020, like that idea of letting yourself live, letting yourself be, allowing yourself to do things, kind of relieving that pressure. I feel like, I don't know, that kind of puts a nice ribbon on it for me in terms of like the conversations we've been having about social media and stuff. It just, I don't know, how do we define how we go about things? Is there like an external factor that makes us feel like it's fake to do X, but it's real to do Y? You know, like what's real, I guess, is just who you are. Like, and sometimes I'm fake on purpose because I don't want to argue with you right now, so I'm gonna tell you that you look okay, but you don't. You know, like it's just like what, but that's me. You know, maybe I am being fake at that moment, but maybe fakeness is a part of who I am. Like, so I don't know. Like, I guess it's just that redefining or just reimagining what we see as like, you know, how we categorize things, I guess, and maybe doing that relieves us of pressure.
We entered 2020 with plans. We had vision boards, maybe wrote a to-do list, I don't know, but we had plans going into the year and we are going into 2021 now. So how are you guys entering the year? Like, what are you entering with a word this time? Like, what is your strategy? You know, like, how are you going to try and maneuver this year now? Are you just going to live in the now? That's something that I've been asking myself a lot. If I'm just going to just take it as it comes, just try to live in the now, whatever, you know, whatever breeze blow my way, just move with it. Like, I guess, what are you going to move into the year with? How are you going to take it on?
For me, I'm a hardcore planner, so I'm already preparing for 2021. The thing is, though, I do find that even when I'm setting plans, I'm so afraid. Like, for example, I'm supposed to be going back to Jamaica in January and staying for a while. And I'm just so afraid to book the flight, you know, because I'm like, first of all, I just don't want to go through the hassle of laying out the plans I have while I'm there and then I can't even go. So I find that there is a lot of fear in like even planning because I find myself not wanting to do it, not wanting to set a structure. But I do have like light goals. I feel like this year, the goals I've laid out so far, and it could just be because it's early December as well, they're just not as in depth. And I think that's also too because my mindset has shifted a lot into so there's this like thing, I guess, where, you know, we work on the things that that are supposed to help us get through life, like so things towards career and like things towards education. But I feel like personally I haven't spent a lot of time working on values and family relationships. I feel especially family, I think that's something that I've always like just kind of pushed aside because I think I've just started treating my family as, you know, no matter what, they kind of have to be there for you. So I don't need to go and see my grandmother every time I go home because she's still my grandmother and she's still gonna feed me if I go there, you know. And I think now, so all my goals kind of center around just really appreciating people and things and kind of slowing down because I find that one, I multitask so much that I don't give things attention. And because I don't give things attention, I don't appreciate it. Like it's even when I watch a show and I'm on my phone, I don't even know what's really going on in the show. I can't even really say, is this a good show? Because I'm not even looking at the cinematography, for example. Like I'm not appreciating elements that really make the show as great as it is. So I think all my goals right now that I have in my head kind of revolve around appreciating things. And then I'm going to kind of lay out how do I even do that? Like, where is it that I need to kind of take off so that I can be able to do that stuff?
I think I'm going to still plan like that. I feel like we need to have some framework, but also realize that my plan might not be God's plan and being okay with that. So going in still with plans, but not hard plans. Like they're like softer plans. Like I have a direction that I'm going in, but when God blow a east wind and shift me God east, I got to move with God. You understand what I'm saying? So that's how I'm going in. Am I gonna have a word? I don't know, but I'm definitely gonna have a guide to follow.
That was like such a good point, and I feel like it's so like, I don't know, because I feel like when you initially asked the question, Leonie, I was like, I have nothing. I have nothing. Like, I don't know. I feel like I'm a planner too, but like if this year taught us anything, it's like, to your point, like your plan, God's plan, they may be two different things. And like I definitely feel like I had this conversation the other day that I feel like was really like kind of transformative for me in terms of like this idea of like envisioning, right? I feel like I'm such a like imaginative person that I love to envision. Like I'm envisioning myself doing this, like I'm envisioning this for me and what like how I'm going to have this impact and stuff. And like sometimes I definitely feel like there's validity in the things that you dream of and the things that you imagine, but then at the same time, like the way that you envision it may not always be how it is executed, if that makes sense. It's almost like God tells you things sometimes, but he doesn't give you the full picture. It's like, here's a little taste, you know, but like you don't know the context of it. Like it makes me think of like That's So Raven, if you guys watch that growing up, where like she'll have a little vision and then she'll spend the entire episode trying to like either counteract it or make sure that it happens. And then when it actually happens, it just happened in a totally different way than she thought it was gonna happen. And like she just went through all this mess for no reason, or like all the mess that she went through to subvert what happened enabled it more, you know, like, and like, I don't know, I just like, I love analogies, but like, I just feel like that was such a good connection for me, because I feel like there's some things this year that I envisioned for myself, like, okay, I'm going to do this. And then it ended up happening, but in a totally different way. Like either I imagined myself doing it, but then it actually ended up happening through an organization that I'm in and I spearheaded it, but it wasn't just me. I ended up doing it with a team, for example. So like, I don't know, I feel like that's something that I'm like really embracing going into 2021, because I feel like this year I was just like, direction was just such a big thing for me this year. I felt like I had no direction. Like, I don't know if it's like, a lot of times I talk about like not being a STEM major, for example, because so many of my friends are like pre-med. And it's just like, okay, they're going to do this and then they're going to go to medical school. Or I have friends that are pre-law. They're going to do this and then they're going to go to law school. And I'm here like, I'm going to do this and then and like that's just been me this year. Like when it comes down to like looking for internships, like it's almost feels like I'm so like things like don't even excite me sometimes anymore. I'm like, this does not feel like something that I'm super passionate about. So like now I'm like, do I even pursue this? And then at times I feel like I'm not doing anything because it's like, oh my God, you're so passionate about this, but you're too good for this, you know? And like, I don't know, I just feel like I've been going around in my head a lot. I'm like in that quarter life crisis of like, what's next, you know, like I'm in my junior year of college. When I graduate, I'm not trying to be broke, but I'm not trying to be unhappy either. Should I sell out and go work for JP Morgan, even though I don't care about numbers or money or finance at all? Or should I try to pursue this and then end up working in nonprofit for the rest of my life and then be broke? You know, like it's just like, how do I and obviously it doesn't always have to be like a this or that. I feel like we're all dynamic people. Going back to like what Chelsea was talking about before, always feeling like, okay, what's going to be my thing? You know, like what is going to be my title almost, like, and how do I commit to that and just go with it, you know? And like, it's not always going to be like that sometimes. And I feel like for me this year, I got very wrapped up in that and like very wrapped up in having a sense of direction when I felt like I didn't have one at all, and like almost trying to like create my path and I didn't know where to start or where it should lead to. So yeah, I mean, I just feel like going into 2021, I'm gonna just try to embrace things more. I'm gonna embrace the visions, but also understand that maybe I don't have this vision in context right now. So I'm gonna embrace it however it comes. And yeah, I feel like that's my thing, like just allowing things to happen and then pushing myself towards the things that I want to happen, but then, you know, embracing like whatever form it exists in.
I feel like when I'm thinking about 2021, I want to like think to like both Shantae and then follow like Latoya's point about like putting it to God. And I think that like honestly that was amazing advice, and when you said it I was like, yes, like that's like where I want to be and where I want to like think about like my year in 2021, like for all the awful things that I think like we just experienced in 2020. Like I feel like I was so blessed. Like I feel like there were so many amazing things that happened and amazing opportunities that like when I think of where I was at 2019, I couldn't even like anticipate. Like I couldn't have planned it. I couldn't have thought about it. Like those were things that like I think fell into my lap because like maybe a professor was thinking about me, or like during like an internship, like I talked to someone who was like, oh, like I think this would be great for you, like stuff like that, or like a friend or like something along those lines. And I think that like I get so like caught in my head to the point where I'm like, okay, I need to do A to get to B to get to C to get to D. Where like that like I think takes away like some of the uncertainty of life, which I think is actually like very beautiful. Like I think 2020 really taught me that like, oh yeah, you can't plan for anything because like everything you thought was gonna happen didn't happen. Like, but things that you couldn't have even imagined or couldn't have processed like did happen. And like I think that like for all the bad that like comes from uncertainty, like sometimes it can be very beautiful. So I think like going into 2021 is a year that like I really don't know what's going on. Like we're going into my senior year of college. Like I might have only had one real year of college. Like by the time I graduate, the way it's looking, like that's probably what it's going to be. Or like there could be a vaccine out in January and like by summer we're living semi-normal. So like I feel like there's no way to really anticipate. I mean, obviously making goals, setting like standards, like that is something that I always do and something that I want to do. But I think when I'm thinking to 2021, like I really want to be a lot more open-minded and like just my life and like being open to like changing plans that I had previously.
I'm definitely a big planner person, like planned out goals, sub goals, action steps, everything, like how exactly I'm going to reach the goal, and then life happens. So I think going into 2021, I definitely just want to be like, just like flow, more just like flexible and open, as you guys already said, just really open to how the vision and the goal plays out if it's God's plan, that's something. And then I definitely want to be more intentional and mindful with like myself and like boundaries. I didn't realize, but I feel like that's something that this year I had kind of like an issue with setting for myself, because I don't know if it's just me, but you know how, all right, you're at school or you're elsewhere, you're not only in like your space, or you had like other external places and persons to kind of like set boundaries for you. So, okay, school is from 8 to like 5 and then I go home and then, so I want to kind of like, set boundaries for myself and like stick to them, and also like learn about me and who I am. I feel like young adults nowadays, probably it's just me, we don't really get that chance because of social media, or we don't give ourselves that chance because of social media. And in 2021, I really want to take the time to maybe step back and really figure out what I want, like who am I, like my values, like what's important to me, what does success mean to me, and just like who Chelsea is. And I feel like with that figured out, it's not going to happen like overnight, but I feel like with that figured out, then I'll be able to really have the impact that I can have or want to have, because I'll be operating from like my true self, so that's what I am hoping for in 2021. So yeah,
I love that. So that is actually the last question that I have for you guys. I do want to know though, if you guys have any, I know, we're talking about, following the plan that God has set for us and, following the flow. But if you do have any, projects that you'd like us to know about, anybody watching, or I don't know, anything going on, just like, please let us know. I'm a big fan of everybody on this call. I truly intake all of your content. Like, I'm a big fan. So I'm so happy that you guys are able to come here and meet each other and for us to talk. So yeah, does anybody have any projects or anything that we should look out for?
Yes. Shanti and I are launching the Young and Thriving brand with our first product, the College Boss Planner. As we said, we're both planners, so we're going to kind of like have that manifest. whoa.
Yo, you came ready.
Fresh release, first view. This is the red kind, and we also have a white one, and Chelsea has that one. But yeah, this is our College Boss Planner that we're in the middle of like launching and stuff. So look out for that.
Getting an insights, an early insights.
For me, I'm just kind of scared to put it out there, but my YouTube channel, that's been doing well. My goal for the year was 500 subscribers, and I'm at 493 today. So I feel like I'll definitely hit the 5 by maybe next week. So that's been going well. So my only big goal is to just continue growing that and hoping to see what that can do for me.
So I feel like big stuff that I'm kind of doing right now. So I think just a lot of my writing's getting like published kind of in different places. So like I think like a lot of the work that I'm doing with Cornell is kind of getting published. So like if you look at the Daily Sun and stuff like that, that's kind of some work that I'm doing. And then I'm also working on a blog, but it's kind of farther down. So maybe like January, February time.
To like echo what Kiana said before, like I feel like I'm so like I don't want to tell anybody because like what if I don't do it? Like that's kind of like where I'm at. But like kind of like what Anna said, I had written a paper a while back about Black women's mental health, but it was like examining it through How to Get Away with Murder, and just like using the characters in there to like make my point, because it was hard to just use society to make my point at times. And my professor was like, you need to get this published in a journal. I was like, LOL, how do you do that? Like, it's only my first day out here with this college stuff, like you speaking a different language right now. So that's something I'm actually gonna try to pursue, getting that done. So that's exciting. And then also to Kiana's point, I had told myself before that I was gonna make a podcast. I like ordered the microphone, y'all. Like I did everything. I have all the things. Have I plugged the microphone in? No. Like there's like a lot of like thoughts written down. Like I planned a lot. So I was like hesitant to vocalize that, but I definitely feel like the few people that I had told before have definitely been like holding me accountable to like think about it more, work on it more. So I feel like saying this now, like in this space, like I definitely feel like I have more people to hold me accountable and like take myself seriously and stuff. Like I definitely feel like I talk myself out of things sometimes because I feel like I'm not ready, or like maybe I haven't learned all the things I need to learn in order to do this well. So yeah, that's just what's on my radar right now.
Nice. I'm so excited to see everything that everybody's doing. I just wanted to say thank you again so much. But I really hope you guys enjoy the conversation, and I hope everybody watching enjoy the conversation. I truly enjoyed it. You guys are amazing. You guys have amazing advice. I know we're just all trying to figure everything out as it comes, but I think that was amazing, everything you guys said. So thank you guys so much for being a part of this, and I appreciate you guys so much.
I took a little time.